As a church, one of the most difficult things to pull off is having a good live stream. And most of us don't even care about cinematic quality or having a Hollywood tier production. We just want something good enough for people to tune into and enjoy. But there's so much involved with having a good live stream. I think it'll be easier today to talk about what are the biggest mistakes I see churches making in their live stream and how to avoid them. Let's talk about it. How's it going, everybody? My name is David. I'm the head video editor here at REACHRIGHT, and we make content like this to help out ministry leaders and churches just like you all the time. So if this is the type of content that you're interested in, consider hitting that subscribe button because it really helps us notify you every single time that we put out more content to help out people just like you. Since the 2020 pandemic, for most churches, live streaming has actually gone from something that was optional to mandatory. And while most of us have gone back to having in-person services since 2020, we still have these carryovers of these live streams that exist. And I speak from personal experience to say that it is not as easy as it looks, and there's a lot that can go wrong. But instead of trying to learn everything that there is to know and become a master at live streaming, I find it helpful sometimes just to look at the most common mistakes and then how to avoid them. So that's exactly what we're going to do today, and I come from a small to medium-sized church, and I find that most small to medium-sized church live streams that I've tuned into have these exact same mistakes, and so maybe you can relate to this. The first mistake to avoid is not acknowledging your online audience. Most of the time, church live streams are exactly how they're named. They're just a live stream of what's happening at the church. So this can result in the point of view of people tuning in to kind of be like a fly on the wall, and they're not really acknowledged or anything, they're just observing what's happening in the service. And I think something that churches fail to recognize is that you can actually do your church service 95% the same way as you would if you didn't have cameras, and just change one little thing and it really would help your online audience feel like they're participating. That one little change that I don't see most churches doing is simply saying hello to your online audience. I know it sounds so simple, but so many churches miss this opportunity. Just in your morning announcements or at the beginning of the message, maybe just remind your pastor to say hello to the online audience. Maybe look at the camera for a second and just say, we just want to thank everybody that's tuned into our live stream for joining us this morning. That's it. It doesn't take long. It sounds small, but it really does mean a lot to the people that are tuning in. Something I've seen other churches do that helps the online audience actually feel like this live stream is for them is they film something that's just to be shown to the live stream. This is usually just a short video from the pastor that's giving a little brief overview of what the message they're about to hear is all about, thanking them for tuning into the live stream and telling them kind of next steps or how to get more involved if they want to learn more about the church. After all, some people tuning into your live stream might actually just be looking into your church without actually visiting in person first to make the decision if they want to come visit in person. So it makes sense to be intentional with your live stream and speak directly to people that might be looking to get more involved that are not familiar with your church. These are small changes, but they're vast improvements from just having a camera on a tripod in the room and never acknowledging it. The second mistake that I see a lot of churches making is not having a chat moderator. We're actually pretty lucky as churches because chat moderation for a church live stream is really something that doesn't take a whole lot of responsibility or maintenance. Most companies or content creators that are live streaming need somebody that is constantly interacting with the audience, answering questions, putting links to things that they're wondering about, and also making sure that the chat is behaving appropriately. But as churches, we typically just want people paying attention to whatever's happening in service and not necessarily the chat window. This is why most churches just kind of let the chat window do what it wants, and as long as there's nothing inappropriate happening, they just figure it's good. And most platforms like YouTube and Facebook will automatically block out inappropriate comments anyways, so churches figure, why have a chat moderator? Well, much like the first point, this all goes back to helping your online audience actually feel involved. It doesn't take much for a chat moderator. It can be somebody on the AV team that just has a tab open while they're doing all the other AV tasks, and they can simply say something like, good morning, and thanks for joining us at the end. If somebody has a question, it's usually pretty easy to answer, and they can pop in there and answer that question too. Again, a small and simple change that most of us can make. The third mistake I see the most often in church live streams is something that even the biggest churches with the best production run into. And this is having a separate sound mix for your live stream than you do in person. Like I alluded to at the beginning of this video, mixing sound in general is complicated. And then when you put into the fact that you also have to mix for a live stream, that's something that kind of takes a lot of knowledge, a lot of practice, and a lot of expertise to get right. But at a minimum, I find that most churches aren't even attempting to have a separate sound mix for their live stream. Your ability to do this may be limited by what equipment you have available to you. But most churches that are live streaming have looked into options like having a separate soundboard that feeds into their computer for the live stream specifically, or having a video switcher that lets you adjust levels with audio. I am telling you, it is worth it to plug in some headphones to whatever kind of switcher or soundboard that is designated for the live stream and actually listen to that mix and try to adjust it accordingly. This is not the video to get into details on how to mix for a live stream, but I'm telling you, just at a base level, you're almost always going to want to turn the instruments down more than you think and the vocals up higher than you think. But using the exact same mix as you have in person at your church for the live stream typically is going to result in pretty bad sounding worship. I know it's all about worshiping God and it's not a record label where we're trying to record an album, but if people are at home and they're having a difficult time even hearing the words in worship, it's going to be distracting and pull away from their experience of trying to worship along. The fourth mistake I see with a lot of church live streams is that they are not embedding their live stream into their website. Platforms like YouTube and Facebook, they make it really easy to actually get our live stream on there and just have people tune in. But this has led to a lot of churches just defaulting to live streaming in one place and nowhere else. Now, there are platforms like Restream that will allow you to take your live stream and actually output it to different places all at once. But the biggest mistake that I see is that people aren't embedding their live stream into their website specifically. The reason that I think this is a mistake is some people will go directly to your website to see what you're all about, and they might even do it on a Sunday morning. So they're gonna be looking on your website to see what the message is or to see if you're live. Beyond that, if they are enjoying it or if they just wanna learn more about your church, they're already right there. The more barriers that you set up and the more clicking around and navigating that people have to do just to find your website, it kind of just puts this unwelcoming atmosphere or barrier in place for your website visitors. And the more opportunity you give for people to go directly to your website to watch your live stream, the better that your website is going to rank in things like Google rankings. So if you think about it, there's people in your area that are searching for churches in my city or whatever it may be, and Google is ranking all the different churches in their area, and it's using analytics to do that. So getting people to come to your website more often is always going to help in that ranking, and embedding your live stream into your website directly is always going to be something that will help with those rankings. And the last most common mistake I see with church live streams is people live streaming when they shouldn't be. I saved this for last because it is always a controversial topic. Now, we have multiple videos on this channel and we've said many times that your church should consider not live streaming at all. But before we go any further, I will say it is completely understandable and it should be noted that we do recognize there are people that cannot physically attend church, and therefore it is always a good idea to make a way for the gospel to be getting to them. And so if your church is struggling or you don't have the manpower or the equipment to live stream and it's really something that's becoming an absolute burden for you, you aren't having a ton of viewers on your live stream in the first place, and you've noticed that the people that used to come to church are choosing not to just out of choice alone, I would say that you should consider cutting your live stream altogether. This is something that only you can answer, and you definitely need to pray about it. So don't take this as a black and white answer. It is different for every church, and we do recognize that some people rely on live streams in order to be able to experience church. And in that case, yes, you should be live streaming. Church live streams can be an incredible tool that help people discover your church and be a part of your service. But there's people looking for churches all of the time. And so to make sure that you're actually showing up on the internet when people are searching, there's a couple things that you can be doing that are really easy. And we cover them all in this SEO guide that you should check out now.